สวัสดีครับ Greetings from Bangkok Kasit Piromya at the end of the month of March 2026 and this time I will express my opinion a bit about the possible venue to solve the state of the civil war in Myanmar or Burma. I would like to recall that for the past 5 years since the coup d'etat staged by the armed forces of Myanmar, Myanmar has been put into a state of a civil war, a conflict between the two sides. The authoritarian military regime on one side and the joint democratic forces of the Myanmar people. It seems to be a military impasse. No one side is expected to gain the victory outright. The civil war is going to be protracted and the country plunges deeper and deeper into self-destruction, hardship, backwardness. There have been at least 2 attempts to help to solve the Myanmar issue. One is by the ASEAN Community Organization, because Myanmar is a member of the ASEAN community. Therefore, it is logical and rightly so that the ASEAN community should take the responsibility to help solve the Myanmar problem, because Myanmar is one of its own. And the ASEAN community was able to come out with a joint plan called the 5-point consensus, which has the basic elements of ceasefire, returning to the negotiating table of all the stakeholders, the provision of the humanitarian assistance, and so on, and the appointment of ASEAN Chair Special Envoy for Myanmar to help facilitate the dialogue and so on. But so far, ASEAN efforts have not borne any positive results. There have been blinkerings and differences and conflict within the ASEAN member states. Thailand at times seems to go about its own way, not towing the line of ASEAN as a whole, arguing that it has a special position because of the long common border with Myanmar, more than 2,400 kilometers long. So the spirit of ASEAN togetherness, of collectivism, has somewhat been undermined every now and then by basic differences within the ASEAN member state. And on top of that, the refusal of the Myanmar military authority to cooperate. So in that sense, ASEAN has failed. At the same time, the United Nations organization, which has the responsibility for peace, security for all the member states and so on, has been quite lukewarm in its execution of its duty. It has a special envoy on behalf of the UN Secretary General and so on. And there have been many debates and discussions within the UN General Assembly as well as within the UN Security Council. But so far, things have not moved forward. Myanmar is falling deeper into the state of civil war, into poverty, into the lack of the basic facilities for life. There's so millions and millions of internal displaced persons and hundreds and thousands of refugees moving into Thailand and Bangladesh in particular, and so on. And without a proper government functioning, the criminals have a free day. Scam centers, human trafficking, all the illegal activities within Myanmar and across border into neighboring countries and so on. So if or when it's being clearly illustrated that the ASEAN community has failed, the United Nations organization has also failed, then what is left? Who is to take the responsibility? And my idea is that such responsibility to rescue Myanmar from the self-destruction should now rest with the immediate neighbors of Myanmar, namely Thailand, Laos, China, India, and Bangladesh. I would like to propose and to urge the 5 immediate neighbors of Myanmar get together to discuss about their joint action, to discuss about the 5 of them jointly host a conference for all the stakeholders of Myanmar to come together to declare the ceasefire, to facilitate humanitarian assistance, and to talk about the future regime of Myanmar under democratic principle and under the principle of inclusiveness and so on. So I hope that Thailand, China, Laos, Bangladesh, India would be able together. The initiative could come from China or India or Thailand, because they are the big countries in the area. So let us remain optimistic that with the failures of ASEAN and the United Nations, now we will have the initiative, the courage to take the responsibility by the immediate neighbors of Myanmar. Let us remain optimistic. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณมากครับ